Hi everyone, my name is Julie and today I'm going to be teaching you how to use the synthetic filter tool in Insight to separate insect noise from bat calls. So we're going to start in Insight. First of all, I'll show you the sort of data that we're working with today. You've probably experienced something like this where you've got a bat call. So in this instance, we've got bats that are calling a steep short call at around 35 kilohertz versus a cricket call, which is also short, steep, and around that 35 kilohertz mark. So when we're using traditional filtering methods, often you'll find that these two noises will come out in the same result, and it makes it really annoying for you to go through your recordings and have to manually take out all of the bush cricket noise. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a synthetic filter to tell the difference between these two and pull out all of the bush cricket calls. Now, for starters, when you're building a synthetic filter, you need to have some reference calls. So we've got 20 bat reference calls of that barb bat, and then we've got 20 of the bush cricket calls, and these are all labelled. Then we've also got a test folder with data that we're going to use to test the filter later on. So to start with, we're going to prepare our data set by marking our two reference folders. So we're going to mark the bat calls, and we're going to right-click and mark the bush cricket calls. Now we'll go up to Analysis and then Synthetic Filters. So for starters, we're going to change the data that we're creating the synthetic filter with. We're going to change it to that marked reference file list. We're also going to change it to the average metrics per file. Right, so you can see here we've got our bat calls in red and our cricket calls in green. I'm just going to change our cricket calls in case we've got anyone who's a little bit colourblind. Change it to a nice pale colour here. All right, so our bats are in red and our crickets are in a pale grey. Now, currently it's producing a scatter plot showing the relationship between the x-axis and the y-axis. Currently, this is by default characteristic frequency versus characteristic frequency, hence they're all in a line. But what you get to do is go through each axis and see if you can find two metrics that separate out the two species. So you can do this if you think you know some metrics that might pull it apart, or you can just have a little bit of an experiment playing with different metrics on each axis. And what you're looking for is the two species to separate out and cluster nicely. Now, I've already had a bit of a play and I've found that the characteristic frequency relationship with the curvature value separates out crickets from the bats really nicely. You can see, even though you've got a couple of outlier bats here, you've got a nice difference between the two. Now, if you want to, you can change your frequency axis, the minimum and maximum. So if I want to change my characteristic frequency up to a maximum of 48, you can see we've gone up to 48 there. And I want to go a little bit higher than this, so I'm going to change my y-axis maximum to 0.04 and our minimum back down to -1. All right, so now we can see our full cluster here and our nice spread out bat cluster here. And what we're going to do is create a rule. So we click on the Add Rule button, we'll click and drag. So what we want to do is make sure we've got a line separating the bats from the crickets. Now you can change the threshold, which is basically describes the depth of this rule. Currently it's on 1, but I'm going to change it down to 0.001. Okay, so that's 0.01 deep, so it's referring to this curvature y-axis here. You can click and drag on any corner of your rule box to change it. I'm going to make it nice and wide here. And what you want to make sure is that you're encompassing all of one species calls and not another. Once you're happy with your rule, we'll go up and give it a filter name. So I've created this rule to pull out the crickets. So I'm going to call it bush crickets. And then we'll click save. Just choose your save location. And here we're all done building our filter. We can now close this window. And what we're going to do is test our filter. So to start with, we want to test this folder of data. Now, if you have a look at this, you can see that this test folder is also pre-labeled. Now, it's up to you whether you want to use pre-labeled test data or not. The advantage of using pre-labeled test data is that you can see whether it's right or wrong, performing well or not straight away. If it's not labeled, then you're going to have to manually go through the results and see how it's performing. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to unmark our file list. So we go over to the Marked tab, we'll right-click on the Marked list, and we're going to unmark all of those reference files. We'll go back to the Stores panel, and this time we're going to mark our test data set. So I'll right-click on the folder and go Mark Selected. So now we can see our marked list has all of that test data in it. Now we'll go across to the Search tab to use our synthetic bush cricket filter. So for Recording Store, we're going to change that to the marked list. For criteria type, we're going to change it from the traditional filter to the synthetic filter. And we're going to import our recently created filter. We'll click on the Import button. We'll click Import from Recent, choose our bush cricket one. See here we've got those files all there. If you want to, you can edit this filter here if you need to. And then we'll click Import. We'll add that to our search. If you need any assistance with creating searches, we have other tutorial videos on this. We'll click Run Search now. So it's popped us over to our Results tab. We can see here we've got 10 files. All of them are crickets. If we go back to our Stores panel and have a look at our test data set, we can see that there were 10 crickets in there and 33 bats. So we can see that that synthetic filter has performed excellent. It's gotten all of the crickets and none of the bat calls. So now that filter is ready to go on real life data. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Please shoot us an email if you need any help or have any questions, and we'll see you in the next video.